Defaults are rising, and yes, my friends, short sales are back. And this is leaving some homeowners wondering, what can I do to avoid this foreclosure? So today I have the honor of talking with my friend and owner of CDPE, Mr. Tony Martinez. We're going to talk about exactly what's going on in the market right now, what to expect in the future, and what you can do as a homeowner if you're in that tough situation that you may be facing foreclosure. So Tony, thanks for this time.
Pleasure, man. Yeah, absolutely, brother.
For those that don't know you like I do, tell us a little bit about CDPE, what it is, and how it's going to be helpful to not only agents but homeowners.
Well, the initial CDPE stands for Certified Distressed Property Expert. So we are a private educational resource for real estate agents. This designation has been in business since 2008, since the great financial crisis. And what we devote ourselves to is teaching real estate professionals on engaging with homeowners that are going through a difficult time. They're facing foreclosure. They don't know what to do, and showing them what options are available to them, what options are there, maybe to hopefully stay in the home, but if they can't stay in the home, to see how they can help them exit with dignity.
That's awesome. And I know that you and your organization has helped literally tens of thousands of people avoid foreclosure in the past, and now this thing is rearing its head again.
Yeah.
You are totally plugged into numbers. And with being plugged into numbers, tell us kind of what you're seeing across the country right now with defaults and kind of what's really happening.
Yeah, well, we're seeing an increase. You know, we're all entitled to our own opinions, but not our own facts. So I always encourage people to go do a little bit of research and everything else. But in July, the numbers nationwide for foreclosure activity showed a spike, 11% up against the month before and 13% up against the year before. I've known that this has been happening, but now more and more people are paying attention to it. But I think more important than what's going on a national level is what's going on a local level. And you really have to look at the individual states, right? There's some states that are leading the way, like Nevada's #1, Florida's #2. And there's some states where they're very, very low on the list. Now, as I say that, you may be in a state that maybe doesn't have a lot of foreclosures, but you're going through a tough time. You're not able to make your payments. And ultimately, what counts is what's happening with you, right? So we are seeing more and more people defaulting on their mortgages and not being able to work something out with the bank so that they can stay. And they're in limbo. They don't really know what to do.
And that's a scary place to be.
Yeah.
And with these numbers increasing, do you think this is a temporary thing? Or do you think that this is going to have a rippling effect to these other states that maybe they're not getting higher numbers right now?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you that back in 2008, when all this started, it really started around subprime mortgages. And the epicenter of the subprime mortgages was Florida, my home state, and states like Nevada and say Arizona. And for the longest time, people thought it was a subprime problem, you know, and it was going to be isolated to just those areas, and folks that had a paper were not really in any risk at all. Well, when the country went into the Great Recession, then we started seeing mass layoffs and the unemployment rate went sky high. And sadly, most people don't have the savings that once they lose their job, they really can't even afford to make their next mortgage payment. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that we're seeing an increase in unemployment now, layoffs. We've seen a revision of job report revision came out, minus 911,000 jobs. I can read it, so I see the posts of major companies letting people go. And yes, I do believe that we're going to see more, and I think significantly more. Now, I'm not a doom and gloom person. I'm not saying the market's going to crash. I'm not saying it's the end of all things as we know it. But I've always felt that for anybody going through foreclosure is bad enough. I don't think we need to focus on, is it as bad as it was back then? For anybody going through it, it's bad enough.
It brings up a question. Are you seeing a concentrated area or certain areas of the market that you're seeing more defaults than other
Yeah.
areas?
Yeah, we are. We're seeing a big number of FHA defaults. So we know that a lot of folks are able to own a home today because they were able to get financing through a government sponsored program called FHA. And sadly, a little over 1 out of 10 FHA mortgages is in default right now. It's crazy. In fact, one stat I saw of 131,000 new delinquencies, 90% of those were FHA mortgages. Yet FHA only accounts for 15% of all mortgages. That's insane. 1 in 10 FHA mortgages in foreclosure.
That's mind-boggling because we think back in the era of 2008 to 2012. I mean, the numbers were different. But if we were to go down that rabbit hole of what's happening, it's the people that put the least amount of money down on a property.
Yeah. So what happens is, the FHA requirements are not as stringent. So it does open up for a lot more people to be able to afford to buy. And so, and they go in with less money down, only 3.5% down. What I'm concerned about is that they don't really have a whole lot of equity to go in with. And let's say they purchased in the last, well, not this last 2 years, but they say they bought during 2021, 2022, and they bought at the very height of the market, right?
Yes.
One could argue they overpaid for their property. And let's say that property is not worth that anymore. They only put 3.5% down. They started missing payments. Next thing you know, they're underwater. So not only are they behind on their mortgage payments facing foreclosure, they don't really have the option of just saying, let's put our home up for sale and walk away with as much money as we can. They have no choice to do what is called a short sale. And that's something I think you'll probably ask me some questions on as well.
It is for sure. It is for sure. So you brought up a really great point, is that when people get into a property and they're comfortable and 18 months go by, 24 months go by, and then things get uncomfortable, especially if they did maybe a buy down program. There's a lot of variables here, but to keep it simple, what are some of the warning signs for homeowners when they're in a situation they start getting uncomfortable? Just to be blunt, like, what are the warning signs that they should really be looking at to kind of take a different look at things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's ever even asked me that question before. I think that's a great question. I think that one of the warning signs is that too many people are living beyond their means. It's sad, but it's true. We've seen credit card debt now, I think, at a level that's only been eclipsed during COVID. We see the revolving debt is insane. We see people borrowing more and more on revolving credit, and they're paying 22% interest or more. I think that if someone still has the opportunity to put the brakes on their spending, please do so. And if you don't have a reserve account, make the sacrifices that are needed to build up a reserve account. They did a survey of Americans, and they say, well, how many of you have at least $1,000 in a savings account, liquid, ready to go, just in case, I don't know, car breaks down or there's an emergency, right?
Yeah, have a flat tire.
Yeah. You know that only 40% of Americans have $1,000 or more in a savings account? And it just goes to show that we have way too many people living paycheck to paycheck, right? And look, I'm not about judging. I've been there.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. But I just say, if you can take a look at your finances, if you can create a budget and stick with it. I'm not saying it's not going to involve some sacrifices, but I think it's worth it in the end. Now, if you're already at the stage where you're looking at missing your first payment, or you already have missed a payment or two, the first thing you need to do is call the servicer. Do not run and hide. You need to speak to them. More often than not, foreclosure action is initiated when the servicer feels like, you know what, we've tried. We've sent letters, we've called, nothing happens. Call them. Tell them what's going on. Plead your case. If yours is a temporary setback, let them know it's temporary. I've lost my job, but I'm optimistic that I can find another one. See if there's anything that they can do to modify the loan, put a halt on the foreclosure process, but take some action. So that's what I would do if they're in the early stages. A whole different conversation if they've already gone beyond that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
If you borrowed money from your parents
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't pay it back, you'd probably call them or sit at the dinner table and say, "Hey, I'm having a little issue.
Right.
Will you help me with this?"
Right.
And more times than not, mom or dad are going to say, "Hey, let's work out a different plan." And I think one misconception to the general public is they think the bank is their best friend when they want the money, and then when they have a hiccup, they don't want to talk to the bank. Well, you got to talk to the servicer.
Yeah, you got to talk to the servicer. The servicer is basically there to do one thing, and that is service the loan, collect the money for whomever owns that note. They are following the rules that they have to go by. But again, you're hurting yourself by not reaching out to them. And be very transparent. Tell them about your situation and what can you do to help me. Just say, what can you do to help me?
And more times than not, they have a solution. It's their job. Not always, but they have something that they can do.
And maybe at the very minimum, it buys you some more time.
Yeah.
You know, so if let's say you're not looking at being able to remedy the situation anytime soon, if you had a little bit more time in the home, what would you do with that time? Would you spend it wisely? Would you be saving every dime you can so that when the time comes to leave, you could afford to move out and rent someplace and put first, last, and security?
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a situation where you're facing leaving the home and you have zero money in your savings account. You want to try to do everything you can to avoid that.
That's a great point. Let me ask you this: when homeowners start missing payments, some have said, "Well, I'm just going to let the bank foreclose." And so, explain to us, like, there are other solutions besides just foreclosure.
Right.
What are your thoughts behind that phrase? I'm just going to let the bank foreclose.
Well, we hear it a lot, and I get it. You're fed up, you're frustrated, you're scared. In fact, some people are so terrified when they are actually served papers or notified that the foreclosure has started that they actually leave the property. That's the worst thing you can do. They leave the property. There's a term for it. They're called zombie foreclosures. People own the house, it's in foreclosure, but they vacate it. No, don't go. Stay there. But, it really starts with, how much time do I have and knowing my rights and knowing my options, right? Know that foreclosure is a process. It's not a one and done situation. It's going to take a while. The servicers by law are required to wait until the borrower is at least 120 days in default before they even initiate action, if they decide to initiate action at that point. Well, if you're in the early stages of it, don't squander that time. Use that time to reach out to the bank. Now, let's say the lender says, well, what are you looking for? So, well, I want to see if I can stay. Well, they're going to ask you, well, could you afford to stay if we were to modify the loan for you? A modification is one of the options should someone qualify. That means that can they take your past due payments that you've missed and add it on as an additional loan in the back? And could they restructure your loan to maybe bring down your payments so that you could afford to stay there? That's one option. The other option, and there's not a whole lot more left, to stay in the home. I've had people say, well, Tony, look, here's my situation. I fell behind 3 or 4 months because I lost my job. But then I got a job. I'm good now. But I don't know what to do. I don't have the money to get caught up. Well, you know what? You could call the bank and say, work with me. I can prove to you that I can afford to make the payments going forward. Can you take the $6,000 or $7,000 that I owe you, and can you let me pay it over 2 or 3 years? It's a form of forbearance. That may be an option that's available to them. So those are the options that are available to stay in the home. Now, sadly, in many scenarios, people have no choice but to exit. Option number one, if you have equity, you know that you have money, you owe this much, but the property can be sold for this much. Never let the bank take your home, because you're going to erode a lot of that equity through fees and everything else. accept the fact that you cannot stay in that home, find a skilled agent that can help you list that property, get it sold before you lose it, and walk away with as much money as possible. If you don't have equity, you're underwater, you owe this much, but you can only sell it for this much, then one option is called a short sale. And that is, we approach the bank and ask them to lose money. We ask the bank to accept the fact that they're not going to recover what is owed, but that it's in their best interest to let this person sell that home and get on with their life. And that is something that as a consumer you can't do on your own. You need help. You need the services of a skilled real estate professional, and that's where my designation comes in. That's where the training that we provide, so that find a CDPE in your market, and reach out to them. And if you can't find one, reach out to my company, and we'll find a CDPE in the area to help you.
Thank you for that, because I was going to ask the next question is, you very eloquently said that short sale you just can't do on your own. There's an entire process that you have to know. And like I've said in other video and podcasts, of course, you can file for divorce on your own. Probably not going to be very successful if you get into a battle. You can file your own taxes. I feel more comfortable with the CPA.
Right.
But this short sale process is just really cumbersome. It takes a lot of time. It's very, very in-depth. And you need to work with someone that has done it before if you want to have the greatest amount of success.
Absolutely. And the banks require it, because the bank, keep in mind, they're losing money. If they're going to allow you to sell the house, they want to recover as much as possible. They know that only by listing through a real estate professional and putting the property in the MLS and giving it the most exposure possible, are you going to create more opportunities to get highest and best for that property.
Yeah, and that brings up a great point, Tony, is that there are, I've heard people say, well, I'm just going to sell it for the cheapest amount possible. And I think that's a misconception, especially in a short sale, because the bank is going to pull values. The bank's not going to say, hey, you've got this $500,000 home, value is $500,000, you owe $7,000. Go ahead and sell it for $300,000. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, what happens is, unfortunately, just because you can doesn't mean you should. A licensed real estate professional in any given state could elect to take a short sale listing. What if they don't know what the hell they're talking about? Sorry for being that passionate about it, but there's just way too many agents out there that aren't familiar with what a short sale is. And it's really not about, let's just sell it for whatever we can. The bank is not a fool. The bank is not 2008 anymore, where they were lost and confused like everybody else. The banks, they're seeking market value for the property. So if you're underwater, but the property market value is $400,000 and it could sell for $400,000 all day long, why should the bank take $325,000? And an agent that doesn't know what they're doing and lists it at the wrong price, what happens is the bank will more than likely turn it down, and then guess what? Maybe you run out of time with all this foolishness. You run out of time, and then next thing you know, the house is sold from underneath you, and the bank takes it back. Well, that's why you don't have time to spare working with someone that doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and that's a devastating position to be in. It's just like we were talking a minute ago. You wouldn't go to mom and dad and say, I'm having an issue.
Right.
And then they say, hey, let's work with you. And then you disappear for 3 months. Because they're probably not going to be welcome for Christmas. The next holiday, you're probably, or you might be at the kids' table if you're an adult, right? So talk to me a little bit, and to our audience, a little bit about, we talked a lot about homeowners. Let's talk a little bit about agents. And this is a movement. This isn't just like, hey, this is a side hustle, right? And I've heard that a lot in the past 5 to 10 years. Oh, I got the side hustle. It's not a side hustle. It's a movement. What do agents need to know so they can be engaged and certified and know what they're doing to get this done right?
Well, that's a great question. I think the first thing that I always want to try to ascertain from an agent is, do you truly have a heart to serve? Because there are easier ways to make a living in real estate than working in short sales. And by the way, I also want to make sure that everyone understands, not everyone that is in foreclosure is underwater. There are folks that are in foreclosure that have equity. All right. So, but the number of underwater properties or potential short sales is growing. They're not easy. They take time. It's frustrating. Okay. We're dealing with a lot of emotions. So the first thing I tell an agent is if you're not in it to win it, if you're not in it for the long haul, don't do it. Secondly, are you perfectly okay with not making any money on a transaction because you help that person stay in their home? See, when you help someone stay in their home because you brought up options and you chased after them saying that you called the bank, that you see what you can do and all this, and what if it happens? The person is able to work out a modification and they're able to stay in the home. Well, that's not a sale. I didn't make a commission on it, but look at what I did, right? I saved that family. I helped that family stay in their home. I might even get a ton of referrals from them as a result, right? And then ultimately, are you willing to commit to getting the right training so that you don't go out there and do more harm than good? And sadly, a lot of agents do want to take the shortcut and just wing it. And I can't tell you how devastating that is to that homeowner when you have someone that's completely clueless about a short sale, taking a short sale listing, and the deal gets all screwed up and then everything falls apart.
Well, it's devastating to the homeowner because they're trusting in the professional.
Yeah.
And the professional isn't properly trained. And so it's bad across the board, not only for the homeowners, most importantly,
Yeah.
it's bad for our entire industry.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's no one wins in that scenario.
What do you think the trend is going to be? I know you don't have a crystal ball, and we started kind of with this, but what do you think the trend is going to be for homeowners in the next 12 to 18 months, according to the stats that you're watching?
You remember Rocky 3?
Yeah.
When they asked, what was it again, Clubber Lang, what's your prediction for the fight?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I don't remember the exact line.
He goes, pain.
Pain. Okay.
There's going to be a lot of pain. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of pain because what happens is all of the indicators that we have are very lagging indicators, right? They take a while to come about. There's a whole bunch of people that are behind on their payments that are not yet in foreclosure, so those stats don't even show up yet. But I'm usually an optimistic person. I'm definitely not a pessimistic person, but I'm very much a realist. And there's just too much economic data right now that tells me that we're in for a rough patch. We're in for a very rough patch. Even the word recession is being thrown around now. And, you know, not to make light of it, but I heard once that Ronald Reagan's definition of what a recession is and a depression is. And he says, well, when your neighbor loses their job, it's a recession. But when you lose your job, is a depression, right? And I think what's going to happen is more and more companies are going to, because the purse strings are starting to tighten, we're seeing people spend less, right? We don't see, we're seeing, I know in my area, I'm seeing more and more restaurants closing, more and more businesses filing for BK, reorganization, or just flat out liquidation. And we're seeing things that we never would have anticipated 10 years ago. AI, artificial intelligence is we're replacing so many different occupations and careers right now. We're seeing a lot of big companies let a lot of high-paying jobs go. I don't know, man. It's gonna be down to the individual. But again, if it were me, I know what my wife and I do. We're very careful with our money. You know, it's not about, you know, spending it on just any whim you can. It's be prepared, right? Be prepared for a long term. But we're busier. As a CDPE, we were largely ignored for the past several months, couple of years. Now we're like, wait a minute. I need this training. Wait a minute. I need this training. So what's telling me is that the industry is waking up. And more agents are realizing, wait a minute, there are foreclosures in my area, and I need to know what to do. And I've been saying that for 4 years now, but who am I? So yeah, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think we're in a coasting mode right now. We're kind of coasting to see what's going to happen. We could talk ad nauseum about what the feds do and how that, you know, does or does not have an effect on mortgage rates, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk ad nauseum about everything in our industry, but most importantly, We want to help homeowners avoid foreclosure, 110%. And in saying that, explain to the homeowner, what's the difference in a short sale and a foreclosure?
Well, consequences. One of the things that I focus on heavily in teaching agents is to be able to properly convey to and communicate to a homeowner that walking away and just letting the bank take the house is a mistake. First and foremost, a foreclosure will stay on a credit report for 7 years. And God forbid you follow it up with a bankruptcy that now stays on your record for 10 years. A foreclosure might prevent you from getting the job that you always wanted, because there are employers that will not hire someone to have a foreclosure, or they might let you go because you have a foreclosure. A lot of people have security clearances, right? That means that they can't work that profession without a security clearance. Well, you know, many times a security clearance is nullified, voided, because they have a foreclosure. So that's something you got to talk to your HR department about. There's the potential for a deficiency judgment. Many states allow the lenders to pursue the homeowner for any money they lose. So if you're underwater and you walk away and the bank takes a hit, your state may allow them to go after you. So here you are, you thought you're done and you're really not. Plus there's tax consequences as well, because forgiven debt is taxable income. So all of those things, and many of those situations don't apply in a short sale. Now, a short sale is a hit against your credit in the sense that you miss payments, right? You miss payments, but there's no category on your credit report that says short sale. There's a category that says foreclosure and one that says bankruptcy, but not short sale, right? You can actually be able to buy a home sooner. In other words, you can be a homeowner again in the future in as little as 2 or 3 years if you did a short sale, as opposed to 5 to 7 years if you did a foreclosure. In a short sale, more often than not, we're successful in getting the bank to waive the right to come after you, so that you don't have to sleep with one eye open wondering when's the next shoe going to drop, and they come after you for that money. So yes, I will all day long stand up and say that when faced with the option of doing a short sale or just letting the home be foreclosed on, that the short sale is the preferable option.
I agree. And in doing this for years, is that I've also seen homeowners that will actually go through a short sale and like 2.5 years later, they're buying a home.
You know, I think that we would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the scams that are out there for people that are in trouble and how they're being preyed upon. Do we have time to talk about that?
Absolutely do.
Okay, so what's going to happen is I wish that the real estate industry would respond and be as proactive as the scam artists and the con artists that are out there. You know, when I'm teaching my class, I always tell the agents, let's say there's a consumer on the phone saying, I need your help. I want you, and I want you to ask them, I go, well, who are the owners of the property? And you're going to say, well, it's me and my husband or whatever. I go, well, trust but verify. So as you're talking to them, go on your computer, go to the tax assessor site and look up the property. And then, not to be flippant, but I go ahead and say, what if, I go, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I see that there's a corporation here called We Really Screwed You LLC. Is that yours? And they go, no. And you know what happened in that scenario? And here's what I do. Again, when you teach a class as dry as short sales for 8 hours, you got to inject a little bit of humor in it, you know, not making light of people's troubles, but I go ahead and say, let me guess. Not too long ago, somebody knocked on your door. They're like, yeah, probably a nice looking couple. Yeah. They introduced themselves as being in a position to maybe help you and asked, can we come in? And you know what, man, I'm a science fiction guy. I love the vampire genre and all that. Okay, and I know this has nothing to do with it, but you know that a vampire can't come into the house unless they're invited in.
Okay.
I knew you knew that, right?
No, I didn't know that. But I don't let anyone in my house.
Yes. So, you know, if the vampire says, can I come in? You say yes. now you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Well, I look at those people as preying on them. You just allow the vampire to come in your home.
Yeah.
And within a short period of time, they've signed over their deed to these people because they made some promise of being able to get them out of the mess that they're in. But in order to do that, they need to be on title. So all you got to do is sign here. Well, guess what you did? You gave them your house. You gave them title to your home. But you're still on the hook for the mortgage, right? So if these folks are not able to work something out, and they probably will not work something out that's to your benefit, it might work out something to their benefit, you are still on the hook for that loan. And I tell you how bad it gets. I had a CDP once tell me that she was talking to a homeowner that was losing their home and was offered by an investor $10,000 to just turn over the house and go about your business, right? This person was not underwater, right? They had equity, but it's like, hey, I know you're going through a lot. What if I could just get you out of this mess right now? Take 10,000 and go. This guy was like, she goes, no, you have more equity than that. Let me help you. She listed the property. First thing she had to do was go in there and make sure that the sale date was pushed back so that they had enough time. They got a contract. They got it sold. He walked away with $80,000.
Wow.
Now, you know where that $70,000 would have gone? Into that investor's pocket.
Yeah.
They would have said, they would have given $10,000, put it on the market right away and pocket the difference. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. So those are some of the things you need to look out for.
Yeah, and we see it in not a short sale situation like you just explained. We see it in an equity position.
Oh yeah,
where it's almost like it's like the locusts have flown in.
Oh yeah,
They just want to
that's
make
it.
all happen.
Well, like if there's a natural disaster, there's a flooding and everything else. We see that in Florida all the time with the hurricanes. The first people to set up shop are these folks.
Yep. And I see it in Texas where I'm at with probate stuff. Not so much with probate because the court's going to oversee
The court, yeah.
But you still get those phone calls or the people knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Hey, I know your husband just passed away, and how about we give you $15,000 and get you up the road, and the home's worth $800,000. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or the
it sickens me. I can't stand that.
Yeah. It's we're on the same page when it comes to that, and this comes back to what you had said.
Yeah.
If you're a real estate professional and you have a passion for helping people, which I think there is a large number of agents that truly want to help people, it's not just about getting a check, then this may be something that you should look at as a professional to add this niche to your existing business.
Yeah.
Tell the agents out there, like, what do they need to do next if they want to get involved in this movement and become certified?
Yeah, I think the first step is go to our website, CDPE designation.com. I'm sure Troy will go ahead and put that on the screen as well. Just go to our website and take a look at the information that's there. The course is taught one of 3 different ways. We have an online, on-demand. I love that. You can start immediately, and it's a situation where you do it at your own pace. We do live in-person ones. So maybe we're doing one in your area or you're willing to travel. And then we do a hybrid where we do it live virtually, which means anybody can go ahead and sit in on it. I'm still teaching this live and in person. And for now, and maybe that changes in the future, but I try to teach as many of these classes myself. The online is obviously me. The virtual one is obviously me. And even the live one. More often than not, the person can say, no, I want Tony to teach it personally. And then one of 3 ways to do it. And the price is affordable. Look, I understand money's tight, okay? But I know my class is valuable. It's $499 for the entire course, regardless of which format. It includes your first year in the membership. And the membership's important because there's ongoing support. There's resources that you can tap into and everything else. And then the annual renewal is only $99 a year after that. That's 27 cents a day. Okay. But because you're kind enough to bring me on, let's go ahead and we'll let's just create a coupon code. Let's call it Troy.
Okay.
All right. Well, a discount code, call it Troy. And if they're watching this and they go and they enter in the checkout Troy, I'm sure that they'll be able to spell that, right?
I hope so.
They'll get $100 off. Okay. So they'll get it for $399.
Well, thank you for that.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
I think this has been great information. So if you're a homeowner and you're even anticipating there may be a hiccup, maybe there's a layoff coming up, You know, there's a bunch of different reasons, but if you anticipate there's a hiccup, I think the key point is take action now.
Yeah.
Be proactive, don't be reactive. And if you're an agent that you really want to help people and you want to build this niche of business,
yeah.
because yes, there is money in it when you close deals like any other real estate transaction. But you really have to have a passion for this. This is not a get rich quick thing. This is actually like work really hard and love on people and help them get to the destination.
Yeah, and also if you're a homeowner and you think, man, I really do need to get out now, and you don't know who to hire to help you in that scenario from a real estate perspective, go on our same website, cdpdesignation.com. There's an area there for you to fill out a form that says, basically, I'm looking for someone to help me. And then I'm going to do my best to connect you with someone in your area that may be of service to you.
Yeah, nationwide.
Nationwide. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think those are some great points, Tony. I appreciate your time being able to help educate our viewers. And if anyone has any questions, they want to reach out to Tony. His information is going to be in the description below. We'll have links in the description below here on YouTube. If you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, just DM us, and our team will put you in touch with Tony or anyone that whatever kind of help you need, we're going to get them there.
Well, listen, I know that you're humble and everything, but you're a CDP and you're one of the best.
Thank you, sir.
So, you know, you service the greater Dallas area of Texas and everything else, and probably beyond. So if you're in Texas, Dallas area, here's your guy right here, because you're as good as they get, brother. You know, you've done a lot of good in the past, and I'm excited that we're working together again, because
I'm excited.
You're going to help a lot of people going forward.
Thank you, man.
All right, God bless you for everything you do, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Take care.